Kia ora, no mai haramai ki All on the Table, a podcast created to create a safe space to discuss a whole bunch of topics that are important to us and our whānau. In our first season, we set out to explore learning and education. We speak with parents about their experiences with hybrid learning during COVID for our children, schools, and whānau. Unpacking the highs and lows, we hope this koorero not only helps our parents think more about the future of their child's learning, but also serves as inspiration for the future of learning in our education system. Let us put everything all on the table. And kia ora whānau, we're back again, man. Welcome back to man, All on the Table, man, our podcast. I'm Q, host of the show, and I'm here with a beautiful, beautiful wahine. Man, thank you so much for joining, eh?
Welcome.
Joining us today. And hey, how you going? How you feeling?
Nervous.
Nervous? Nah,
Pie?
Pie, yeah, man. Hopefully all these lights and everything is so bright, eh? But nah, we're just here. It's just us having a bit of a koorero. And yeah, just having a good old chat like we're meeting each other for the first time, eh? So I'm looking forward to our koorero today with you. But first, I guess just to get the ball rolling, can you just tell us who you are and a little,
Yeah.
up to you how much you want to share, a little whakapapa if you want.
Yeah, tēnā koe.
Kia ora.
My name's Rangiora Tāwhai. I come from Te Whaanau Apanui, East Coast. I have two young men. They are 16 and 14 now, but of course in COVID 2 years ago. Their dad is a fine Samoan man. Yeah, so my background, I like to say that I was a dairy farmer's daughter from the East Coast, but much more than that, obviously. Much more than
for
that,
sure.
obviously. Yeah, that's me.
Oh, kia ora. Nah, no mai hara mai whakatau mai. Just looking forward to, yeah, man, just our chat today. When we were talking off camera before, like today's koorero was all about like exploring, I guess, the like on paper down here, we've got exploring those boundaries, between home and school. Like when COVID came around, it was such a interesting time where our position as parents really flipped upside down because of how our young people were learning and what we had to do just to get through. So in this koorero today, we're just going to explore that more, unpack it more, unpack your experience. So, yeah. And I wanted to start off with super simple question. Back before the times of COVID and for all of the working work and learning from home. Like, can you tell us more about, I guess, or can you define what for you the purpose of it, the idea of what a teacher is and what the parent is, when thinking about learning, just super simple way, and it's probably super basic, eh?
Well, I think for myself and for my tāne, home life was home life and school was cool.
Yeah.
And we quite often had conversations with how our children were doing with school. But, there was two definite, distinct movements. Yeah. We had the three-way conversation, parents things, and sometimes I would get hold of the teachers if my babies expressed some concern about something. But apart from that, there wasn't blurred lines like there was when we came to the COVID scenario.
Yeah.
That was quite a different creature.
And just quickly, just on engagement there, how often would you catch up with whānau before COVID, and did it change like as you went into COVID, like the amount of time you would engage or
with
communicate?
whānau?
Yeah. Oh, sorry, with the teachers. Sorry, in school.
With teachers in school, I was quite an active mum. Well, with my boys and their teachers, because with my oldest one, he had some challenges with what we thought was hearing initially. So we were going through that when he started primary. So it was just about whether he was meeting his milestones through primary school. So it was, and because that kind of carried on with my with my little man because he was premature. So it was different to see whether he was meeting his milestones as well. So it was just kind of a natural thing for me, for myself, was to be kind of hands-on and have an understanding that they were where they needed to be and how I could awhi. So I would quite often go and speak with the teachers. I had it with my youngest boy. I had beg your pardon, with my big boy. He struggled with math, so I had a meeting with his math teacher every Wednesday to see how I could tautoko ask my big boy anything in the times table, and it's just
Boom.
like that. Just like that. So.
No, that's cool. Thinking about that relationship, or that for you, the understanding of the positions of the whānau and the teacher. Can you tell me a little bit about like how it was when you moved into like learning from home, and and how much did that change, like, and what did it look like? I imagine, working at home.
It was really reactionary initially. My experience from, you need to take your things home, and you need to take them, and you won't be coming back, and you're going to be working from home. So that was completely left field. Didn't see that coming. So I was getting through that myself, and then the children are going to be home full time. Okay, what are we going to do about that? Getting the computers up and running. What are we going to do about that? And then I'm working from 8 till 4:30 Monday to Friday. And my children are sitting there, and it wasn't crazy, but it was really, really, you were knocked off your axis. It was what's the word? It was really unsettling. It was really unsettling. So you had to be calm because you had to be calm because this was your reality. This is your here and now, and particularly for your babies, for my boys, because they're definitely watching what's going on with mum and dad and how we're coping. So you just had to cope because you just had to stay calm.
And it was new too, eh?
Yeah, well, and there's are we going to die, Mum?
Battling with all the...
Yeah, what's going on in the world?
Yeah.
So it was, apart from the fact that, we're talking about education, there was all of that going on in the world, which were totally aware of. So being in isolation, you had to make that a good thing for them. I guess the hardest thing they had was whānau and friends, and the concerns of whānau and friends when there's this pandemic and there's thousands of people around the world dying, and how is that going to affect their world? So that was the biggest thing right in the initial.
Yep.
That was the biggest thing right in the initial. Yes, we'd got the internet connections, and we'd got their
devices,
Chromebooks, their devices all linked up, and I'd got my devices all linked up, and worksheets, paper,
or whatever.
It was a bit of a. I think it was quite reactionary in the initial forms, but we bedded down and it was all right.
Yeah. Along the it hits. You get all the stuff. You go in hard with your kids. What was because school had literally come into home. So for me, before the COVID and the relationship that you would have had to succumb to because of COVID may have changed. Like how was that relationship there? Did it were you engaging with teachers more? Were they were they actively reaching out to you more than they should? We're just having a koorero about this, and I'm definitely not trying to bag on any schools. I really want to unpack the reality of our whānau, because I love our teachers. I actually tried to go to uni, and I was trying to become a teacher, but I got.
You tried?
Yeah, I tried. I tried to become a teacher. Yeah. I actually still am a teacher, but not in the school. But anyway.
But your interests took you elsewhere, haven't they? Obviously.
Yeah. But what was that like?
I think, like all of us, you know, it was all very reactionary. So they would send my inbox just went nuts, you know, from the tumuaki, because he wanted it to let us know that things were coming in, coming, and that they were taking care of the children, and there were staff briefings, and then you got the teachers who they were also sending emails, and it just, I think, got a bit swamped.
Yeah.
Initially.
Oh, yeah, true.
So, I was trying to read all these 20, 25 emails a day. And then in the end I thought it just, handbrake.
Fair enough, yeah.
Hold on. Let's just wait till the
it's like getting
till
all the spam
dust,
in your inbox.
Yeah, till the dust settles. Till the dust settles, because, you know, I think they were really worried that they would lose sight of the children, and they were really worried that the children's education would suffer, because, I mean, this was a new thing for everybody, and I totally understand that, but I think it took a good couple of weeks for them to take a breath.
Yeah.
And then structures started to come, because it was just all kind of a little bit of a chaos initially, and then structures started to come into play.
It was like they had to sort this out essentially overnight.
Yeah, it was poor things.
Yeah.
You know,
when,
and then we feel sorry for ourselves too.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, because you literally, like, I mean, working from home wasn't even a thing for us, eh? Really?
Not at all.
Not at all.
Not at all.
So we had to figure all of that out too.
Figure all of that out.
Even that, and that's a whole thing, and then you're getting bombarded by your boss, probably.
Yeah.
You know, one thing I'm super like keen to koorero about is I would like to add in there and learn more about is when the school came into your home, like, how did you actually feel about it? You know, I think exploring like this idea of like who has control, and you know, because the boundaries were blurred. You know, like you said, a separate school. You know, super separate. Like, you know, at that point, how was it, man? Like, and what did you say? Oh yeah, that's definitely like go for the teachers, but that's a no for the teachers. That one, you know what I mean? Like, how you know, what are your thoughts there?
Two different children. So I had one in high school and one in intermediate. So their experiences were different. So how I tautoko them, how I helped them in the background needed to be different. Can you ask that question again?
No, all good. So I think for a few of our whānau, you know, home is home for us. This is our domain. The fact that we needed to, you know, do school in home sort of may have brought in the idea that, well, you know, the school is now telling us what to do at home, you know? How did that sit with you? Is that something that came to light, or were you just, you know, you got the timetable, I'm easy with it, you know, there's a school at home, you know? But yeah, what do you reckon? How do you feel about them coming in and really being a part of your house?
Well, see, this is the thing with the two that were at different stages in schooling. See, my big boy, there was a lot of expectation that he was going to be working autonomously.
Yeah.
But what I know of my son is that he needed to be encouraged. So that's where the classroom situation helped him a lot. Whereas my youngest, he needed a lot because he was still in a classroom situation. So there was that interaction, or he'd be given a set of work and he really needed assistance with that. But he was only on a Zoom with that teacher for 30 minutes of the day. And then, so he really needed some assistance. So as mum, who's supposed to be at her desk from 8 till 4:30. That was really difficult to watch because they didn't have that consistency of interaction with their teacher because they're not on Zoom for 8 hours of the day. It's just a set amount of time, an hour, and then that was that. So it was really interesting. I ended up taking some, really having a good conversation with my boss because there was these struggles going on. And you just kind of have to make the good of bad situation at the end of the day.
We're all just trying to do stuff.
Trying to do the best that we can do. You know, my work was starting to suffer because I was trying to help my children. So I had a conversation with my boss, and so what we did was I took a day's annual leave every week, which ended up to be 2 half days. So I had 2 half days of a week to spend with my children, which was brilliant because it's the time of day that they're learning. So there was no use in mum trying to pick it up at 7 o'clock after dinner because it's the wrong time.
Yep.
You know, so it worked out really, really well. So I would have 2 hours each with my boys on a Tuesday and a Thursday, which was really, really beneficial. Actually, it ended up saving our whole relationships because my work was pie because they understood what I was doing. So I was working proper when I was supposed to work, and I was able to awhi my kids. And it was about letting the teachers know that was what I was doing because of how they were reacting at home, you know, because it was about work completion and they needed tautoko with that. It was about, you know, it's all very well giving them assignments. But if there's no ongoing conversations with their teachers and their perceptions of what they've been asked to do, you know, so or sitting down and doing an assignment with them, you know, they just needed some help, so it just worked for us.
Sounds like that work, the home, the school, the teacher, life balance was a bit of a mish.
Yeah, very much
but
so.
like luckily, like it's like all of the parties came to the table.
Yeah, very much.
You know,
so.
one of those.
Yeah,
but,
very much so. And the flip side to that was right at the beginning. Particularly my youngest, now he was year 8, so last year at an intermediate. And, you know, there's all that thing of wanting to say goodbye to your friends because you're going away to different schools and you're not getting to spend time together. And he was a prefect that year and he had, you know, had friends that wanted to do it. So particularly with him, and actually he was the one that kind of precipitated a conversation that I had with his teacher because they were missing their friends. And it was that social thing. So what he ended up doing was they'd come in on a Zoom time and then he'd leave the children on their Zoom time. Well, I'm hopping off now, you've got a half an hour. And it was just about the children interacting and getting on with that social thing, which they really needed when we were in lockdown. So it was actually the school were helping them what they needed at home. You know, so it really worked. But you had to communicate.
It had, like, because they were still learning and trying to figure out, well, what's going to go the best. It was like, seems like what you said managed to do was create the online interval or lunchtime.
Yes.
Sort of.
And because it's very scary, they don't know how their friends are doing.
You know? That's right.
You know, because we're watching the news and it's tragic what's going on around the world. So, you know, and they're very concerned about where their friends are at. So it was great for them just to catch up with their peer groups. So that was a plus also.
One thing I do want to jump back to is just on that work and home life balance and you sorting it out. It just came. I just want to point out that it did come for a cost, though. Like you had to take annual leave days, and that's money out of the pocket. Far out, like for me, like knowing that, and like let's say we're hit with another lockdown, or what if education, like done a bit of a turn, and you know the new way of learning or something like that, needed more at-home parent involvement. Like, can we really, like? Count their costs, or you know what I mean? Like, can we carry it as parents?
Well, that's the whole $1 million question, really, because not all parents have the luxury of working at home. You know, mum and dad, they work outside. You know, that's a minefield for me. That's a minefield for me. I don't know. I think a lot of employers would also have to factor in, because if their employees have school-aged children, I'm just so thankful that my workplace allowed me to do that, because honestly it was very, very, very difficult, and I need to be straight up with my boss and say, I need to spend time with my children. And he made the business made that happen for me, but because it was going to be a meltdown for the children and a meltdown from, because I have my own standards of work, and that was starting to be compromised because my drive was here with my children. So, it was trying to find that work-life balance. Yeah. Literally, in the four walls of your home.
Far out.
Hey, look, it was a wonderful experience. It was a scary experience. It was, on so many levels. But so what we ended up doing was my children had 2 hours, because I had to do up their timetables and work out where their Zoom things were for their week
program.
Just to keep them so that they would meet their Zooms, because they had obligations to meet their Zooms. I mean, I was talking with the teachers after, when we went back to school. To go and touch base and see how
nice.
they were when we were opened up and all that jazz. Like, half the school, 50% of the students didn't even turn up to the Zooms. 50%. So,
I mean, even for the small amount of engagement for some, then
no engagement at all. Yeah, there was, and it would be interesting to find out nationally just what sort of impact that had, because some of them didn't have devices, so they're not out. Some of them, mum and dad are at work every day, so I don't know. But what does that mean for that young person? That huge block of time that was absent.
Sorry, I sort of jumped in there and I killed you from explaining. Really love to hear how you, when you took on that role of being a real teacher with your whānau, how you timetabled out your child's time. Sorry, I jumped in there. My bad.
That's just mum being mum, I think. I didn't want them to miss out. So we worked out their schedules, and then they've got different programs and of course the high school program, this was me learning on the fly, honest to God, because the high school system that my big boy was working on is completely different system to what my year 8 one was. And don't ask me what the programs were now. I can't remember. But I finally figured out how to navigate my way through these two systems and worked out where their timetables were and where the Zoom things dropped in. And then there was assignments that had due dates, and so you had plot out what times they were going to do, so that they were able to put those assignments in on time. And it was full on. But they really appreciated having that, because they were able to focus a bit better. And the other thing we did, which actually that was quite interesting, because their dad was why aren't they doing more? I said, no, they do 2 hours in the morning.
Oh, true. Oh, he was questioning you like
they do 2 hours. Dad was questioning me, why aren't they doing from 9 o'clock to 12 o'clock and then 1 o'clock to 3 o'clock?
School is 9 to 3. Sorry.
I said, no, they do 2 hours in the morning, and then they have 2 hour break, and they 2 hours in the afternoon, and they know what they're all set up to know what their outcomes are for that day. And that was it. The rest of the time was their time, because they're at home.
It's still home.
It's still home.
It's
still their home.
Man, all right, that's really cool. That's crack up though. Hey, why aren't they doing this?
I know. Their dad was asking me. I'm going, this is how you go to work. This is how we've worked out our work-home life. This is how we've sorted it out.
I just want to, man.
I
think we're running out of time though, but a little bit. But I want to try and touch on a couple of things before we sort of flow out. Man, it feels like we need another episode, because it feels like we're only scratching the very top. But one thing I really loved hearing what you just said a while ago is, after COVID, you went and you caught up with your teachers. And I'd really love to, I don't know if it came up, but did you, in the conversations with those teachers, you don't have to name anyone or anything, but did you give them some advice around the learning and what you experienced during that time, or Or was it just mostly like, oh, just checking in after it all, like, you know, after you come back from the hard rugby matching sort of thing? Yeah, what was the conversation like, and what did you catch up with, if you don't mind me asking?
Yeah, sure. High school was pretty cool. When my boy was at high school, my biggest fear because of this whole COVID is that my boy was in year 9 in 2020.
Yeah.
You know, and he's only had some normalcy, and we're now in year 11.
Yeah.
So those foundation years were really tested. You know, so I always have a bit of a worry. But I did go to because they're in the Māori unit at the kura that he's at. And just, I don't know, it's just touch base.
Yeah.
See how they're doing and thank them for their,
Yeah.
you know, because they were very, very good at checking in with you and seeing how your young person is doing. They were very, very good. So I just wanted to go back personally.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because that's a good thing to do.
Yeah, that's right.
That's, you know, particularly when we're all locked down, it's the personal thing that you really missed a lot.
Yep.
And for my little man, again, he was in a Māori unit. And I kind of struggled with his teacher a little bit. I'm one to question, or I'm one to say, do you think you need to kind of think, can we think about it a little bit differently? Because it was, you know, the kids were just getting bombarded with more work. And I only were talking with my little man today, he was actually missing his mates. So that's when I went back, well, actually, sure. Sure coulda, but actually they're missing their mates. So do you think we can do something about that? And, you know, it all came out in the wash, and I made a point of going back to the kura and saying that was really, really good that you were open.
Yeah.
And that we were able to do that within that space, because it was really important for the kids' well-being.
Oh, sure.
You know, it was really important for the kids' well-being. But you don't know what you don't know, because you've never been presented with this situation before. And everybody's trying to do the very best, as a mama, as a teacher, you know. So
that's right. Especially,
you just have to
just roll with it all. And our teachers, and
they did a magnificent job.
They're parents too.
Yeah, sure.
Exactly. They're working at home too. Our struggle teacher was their struggle too, and just all of that sort of good stuff.
Yeah.
Oh man, one thing. Yeah, man, I think we're running out of time. Let me just check. Oh, yeah, we are running out of time. Oh man, it feels like we're only getting started. But thank you so much for sort of sharing, I guess, a little bit, in regards to like your relationship with the school, your home experience, school coming into home, and all that sort of good stuff. I guess one question I want to sort of pose to sort of end us is like, coming through everything that we have over the last couple of years and thinking about the future of education. Let's say, what if this hybrid learning and that learning style that we went through was actually the future? What if we were able to do it, you know, like that, without all of the worry of COVID and stuff like that? Like, I just wanted to get, I guess, your insight on whether you think it could work, you know, why? And if it couldn't work, why? Maybe. And this is just, I mean, this is just pie in the sky thinking. We know we're not going to answer it today, but I don't know. I think dropping it for our whānau online today might get everyone else thinking about you know, the future of education and that, especially that style, school coming into our homes, you know, school coming into our homes. Really, like, we do homework, right? But this is like,
do they?
yeah. This is like schoolwork all day, you know, anytime, fitted in everywhere. But yeah, anyway, I'm gonna stop blabbering. But yeah.
Gosh, that's crystal ball stuff, isn't it? But you know, thank goodness that there's some really switched on, savvy people out there that really want to delve down and dig deep with is hence the podcast.
Yeah, that's right. That's it.
You know,
exactly right. We want to explore it now. We want to be ready.
Yeah, exactly. Technology is a wonderful thing. I worry about the human factor. You know, can our children still learn to be empathetic? Can they still learn to be generous? Can they still learn to be caring humans, you know? If you don't have those other things coming because you're going through cyber, you know, that worries me. But then the other side to that, particularly with my teenagers at the moment, they're so switched on. It's just kind of like an extension of themselves.
Yeah.
You know, there's truth in that thing at the moment, and it's going to be an old adage one day. If you don't know what you're doing, just ask your 16-year-old to come and sort it out. Because you know, it's so.
Or even younger now; they're getting younger.
Yeah, it's so true. It's so true. So you really don't know how well it's your worry, not their worry. It's their world.
Yeah. That's it.
Yeah. I just worry. When you pose that question, I just think about the human factors about it. You know, because it's.
What can schools do to better support that then?
Through
Through
hybrid.
For hybrid or just in general, like If the idea is like, because we know technology can support, you know, but find balance, but you know, and let's say we were going to move into more of a hybrid learning space. What can schools do? What's an idea maybe? Something they can test and give a go, you know, to make sure that human factor that you're sort of, and I believe that too. It's definitely needed, man. You know, we may not answer it today. It's all good.
No,
just get us thinking. Eh?
It's. I mean, I know that's one of the things that I need to teach my children. You know, that's my job to teach the children. But the truth is, they spend most of their growing time at kura. So those things, those touch points happen all the time during the course of their school day, their school week, their school year. So they learn those things. I really, really, really don't know how to answer that question. How else could they teach those sorts of humanistic
because
things?
You can't, like, that only...
That's
only happen right here.
A human interaction.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah.
That's good. I think more than anything, even myself, I was trying to dig deep to answer that, and that's why I really need to talk to other whānau about this. Like, I definitely see a need for making sure that it is, kanohi ki te kanohi all the time, because that's what's gonna, that's it really promotes.
Well, that's what makes it real.
You
know.
Yeah.
Because kids aren't going to do anything if it's not real, mind you. Their reality and our reality are different things.
That's exactly true. Oh,
you know, and their tomorrows are going to be completely different to ours. You know, and it's our mine. I suppose it's my apprehensions. You know, they've got none of that. They're off.
They're off. They're just the world is theirs.
Yeah, they're off.
Yeah.
It's so. Are we holding them back with our own?
Might be.
Yeah. Who knows?
Nah, cool. But hey, might wrap it up here, Whaia Rangiora. Man, thank you so much for your time today.
Welcome, thank you.
Just really appreciate you, and maybe we need to spark up a part 2 of this episode and might have an answer for that. Honestly, I'll get thinking, man. I'll get thinking too. But thank you so much for your time.
Tēnā koe ki. Thank you.
Kia ora.
Kia ora.